Picture a world teeming with life, 66 million years ago. Earth, in the late Cretaceous period, was a vibrant canvas of color and movement. This was the home of giants, some of the most magnificent creatures ever to walk our planet, the dinosaurs. Towering Tyrannosaurus rex, the undisputed king, ruled the vast plains, while great herds of Triceratops grazed peacefully beneath the shade of lush, ancient forests. High above, pteranodons soared on colossal wings, casting shadows over the land, and deep within the warm seas, colossal reptilian predators hunted among vibrant coral reefs. The world map looked different then, but the climate was balmy, the vegetation was rich, and the air buzzed with the sounds of prehistoric life. For more than 150 million years, dinosaurs had been the masters of this world. They had conquered every environment, adapting to scorching deserts, humid swamps, dense forests, and rugged mountains. But all of this was about to end. Without a single warning, the Earth was entering the final day of the dinosaur AGA day that would change the course of history forever. On that fateful morning, in what is now the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, the day began like any other. The sun rose over a world of tropical forests and tranquil inland seas. Herds of ankylosaurs, with their heavy, spiked armor glinting in the morning light, lumbered slowly through fields of ferns. Predators were on the hunt, herbivores were grazing, and the planet felt timeless, eternal. But far, far away, in the silent void of space, a cosmic executioner was on its final approach. A massive asteroid, over 6 miles wide, was hurtling towards Earth at 20 times the speed of sound. It had traveled for millions of years, an unseen bullet drawn by the relentless pull of gravity toward our fragile blue world. If any dinosaurs had looked up at the sky, they would have seen nothing out of the ordinary. The asteroid was still invisible to the naked eye, but in just a few short hours, that calm would be shattered, replaced by the single most catastrophic event in our planet's 4.5 billion-year history. It was around midday, perhaps 11:30 a.m. local time, when the asteroid struck. It slammed into the shallow seas off the coast of modern-day Mexico with a force that is simply beyond human comprehension. The energy released was equivalent to over 10 billion Hiroshima bombs detonating all at once. In a fraction of a second, temperatures at the point of impact soared to tens of thousands of degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. The ocean instantly vaporized. The solid rock of the Earth's crust liquefied. A crater over 110 miles wide and nearly 20 miles deep, the Chicxulub crater was violently carved into the planet. Mountains of molten rock rose and fell like waves in a matter of seconds. The impact blasted trillions of tons of debris, superheated ash, and vaporized rock high into the atmosphere, creating a glowing fireball that expanded for hundreds of miles. Anything within a 1,000-kilometer radius was instantly obliterated. Forests turned to ash, animals were vaporized where they stood, and the oceans boiled. For the dinosaurs living nearby, there was no warning, no time to react. One moment, they were living their lives. The next, the very sky above them exploded into a wall of fire. Within minutes of the impact, a new horror began. A deadly rain of molten debris started to fall back to Earth. Tiny pebbles and glassy fragments, known as tektites, rained down across the entire globe. As this material re-entered the atmosphere, friction heated it to incandescence. For hours, the sky itself glowed red-hot, turning the planet into a planetary-scale oven. This intense heat pulse ignited massive wildfires that erupted on every continent. Entire forests burned to the ground in a global firestorm. The heat was so extreme that even creatures thousands of miles from the impact site were scorched. Animals fled on pure instinct. Herds of Triceratops stampeded through the burning plains. A confused T-Rex would have roared into a sky of fire, and pterosaurs, their great wings failing them, would have tumbled from the skies. But there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Within hours, the fires consumed nearly half of all of Earth's vegetation. The once blue planet turned a terrifying orange and black as the fires finally began to burn out. A different, more insidious terror took hold. The colossal amounts of dust, soot, and vaporized rock from the impact were now suspended high in the upper atmosphere, forming a thick, impenetrable shroud that blocked out the sun. They turned into a perpetual night across the entire globe. For weeks, then months, the planet remained cloaked in an eerie, chilling darkness. Sunlight could no longer reach the surface. This meant that photosynthesis, the fundamental process that sustains almost all life, ground to a halt. The entire global food chain began to systematically collapse. First, the plants withered and died in the dark and cold. Then, the herbivores that depended on them for food began to starve. The predators, with nothing left to hunt, followed soon after. Even the oceans weren't spared. Tiny plankton and marine algae perished, cutting off the food supply for countless fish and the mighty marine reptiles. With the sun's warmth gone, temperatures plummeted. The Earth was plunged into a sudden and severe impact winter. Ice and snow began to spread across regions that had, just days before, been lush, tropical paradises. In just the first 24 hours after the impact, more than half of all living things on Earth were either dead or dying. The air was thick with toxic ash. The oceans turned acidic from the sulfur and carbon compounds that the explosion had released into the atmosphere. Corrosive acid rain poured down over the devastated land. The mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex, once the apex predator of its time, now found itself stranded in a cold, dying world. Surviving dinosaurs would have scavenged desperately among the rotting carcasses, but the global fires had destroyed most of the available food. Even the smallest creatures suffered immensely. The vast world of insects that depended on plants perished in unimaginable numbers. The skies, once filled with the calls of pterosaurs, grew silent. Only in the darkest, most secluded refuges deep in burrows, hidden in caves, and in the abyss of the deep oceans, did a few resilient forms of life manage to cling to survival. For months, the Earth remained a dark, frozen, and silent world. Then, slowly, painstakingly, the light began to return, revealing a planet transformed beyond all recognition. When the dust finally began to settle, the scale of the devastation was clear. Nearly 75% of all species on Earth were gone. The age of dinosaurs, an era that had lasted for an astonishing 150 million years, was over. The great reptiles that had once dominated the land, the sea, and the sky had vanished, leaving behind only a few of their smaller descendants. Among the survivors were tiny, shrew-like mammals, the ancestors of birds who were themselves the last descendants of the dinosaurs, and a few hardy reptiles that had found refuge underground or in fresh water. As the skies cleared and sunlight once again warmed the earth, life, though scarred, found a way to begin anew. Plants started to regrow from seeds and spores that had survived the cataclysm. Over millions of years, these survivors would evolve and diversify into new forms. The age of mammals was about to begin, and eventually, humanity itself would appear. But the echoes of that terrible day would never truly fade. Every fossilized bone we unearth, every thin layer of soot we find preserved in ancient rock, tells the same incredible story. The day the dinosaurs' reign ended, and a new chapter for life on Earth began. The last 24 hours of the dinosaurs serve as a powerful and humbling reminder of just how fragile life on our planet truly is. The asteroid impact was a cosmic accident, a random event that fundamentally reshaped the course of evolution forever. Had that asteroid missed Earth, or even arrived just a few minutes earlier or later, it might have plunged into the deep ocean, and its effects could have been far less severe. Dinosaurs might still rule the planet today. Instead, that one fiery day cleared the way for mammals and, eventually, for us to rise to dominance. In a very real way, our own existence is written in the ashes of the dinosaurs' final day. Every step we take on this planet echoes their lost footsteps. Every sunrise we are privileged to see was once hidden behind the same dark veil that ended their world. The story of their last 24 hours is not just one of destruction, but of profound transformation. It's a powerful testament that from the ruins of even the greatest catastrophe, life, against all odds, finds a way to begin again. The final day of the dinosaurs was a day of unimaginable terror, a symphony of fire, darkness, and death on a planetary scale. Yet, in that same moment of complete devastation, the Earth was reborn. The world of the dinosaurs ended, not because life had failed, but because it was forced to evolve. And from the ashes of their extinction, a new age began, one that would, in the fullness of time, lead to us. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the incredible history of our planet. We'll see you next time.